Hi everyone, my name is Neil Bartlemay, and in this video, I am going to walk you through how to configure the UFW or uncomplicated firewall on an Ubuntu server instance. My instance is running Ubuntu server version 22.04. However, most Ubuntu Linux OS instances come with it natively installed. However, we'll be walking through what to do if it isn't. But today we're going to be going through various things. So, like I said, first thing, we're going to verify the installation. We'll make sure IPv6 filtering is enabled. We will set secure default policies, allow and deny services, manage rules, enable logging, apply changes, and then finally we'll test the firewall from another machine to make sure that it's working. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to run the command to see if UFW is installed on the machine, if this module exists. So we'll run sudo UFW status. And this is my first command. Okay, so command not found. This module is not installed on the machine. No worries. So what we'll do is we will first make sure apt is updated. And then once we have apt updated, we will install UFW flag for yes. And this will install the UFW module. Wait for that to go through. And then once this goes through, there we go, we can run sudo UFW status to check and see if it's there. So it's inactive, which we'll work on, but it is now there. So we have made some progress. We now have UFW installed. The module exists on the machine. And now that UFW is installed, we will make sure that it is configured correctly. And the first thing that we're going to do to make sure that it is installed correctly is we are going to make sure that IPv6 is enabled. So Ubuntu UFW firewall enables IPv6 by default and enables IPv6 traffic generally by default. So the UFW firewall must also be active. Otherwise, if you have IPv6 traffic enabled by default and it's flowing and there's no firewall stopping IPv6 traffic and you only enabled the IPv4 firewall, well, there's still a significant surface area of attack that can be exploited. So, in order to check the IPv6 setting in the firewall, we're going to navigate to the file path etc default UFW. And here we will see this entry right here. So this IPv6 entry is set to yes. This means that it is supporting IPv6. Now, if it were set to no, and you came in here and this is what it said, you would then delete it and change it to yes. This ensures that the UFW also applies to both IPv4 and IPv6. So we'll go ahead and just close out of this, save, no, because we didn't change anything, so it doesn't really matter. The next thing that we will do is make sure that we have default firewall policies. So meaning we want to generally set a stance on what we want to do with traffic, and then we can granularly set up how we want to do it with allowing and denying specific services. So what we want to do is deny all incoming traffic connections unless explicitly allowed, and allow all outgoing connections. So the first thing is we want to deny everything coming in. So we are going to put in sudo UFW default deny incoming. Perfect. So we have that entered. Now we want to allow all outgoing, and it's going to look very similar. Sudo UFW default allow outgoing. We have those in there. So this creates a secure baseline and prevents unauthorized access, generally speaking, and it gives us something to base and work off of. So before allowing or denying services, a good rule of thumb or a good best practice is to check which ports the system is currently listening on, just in case there's something going on or it's used to do something in particular. And the way we're going to do that is with this command right here, sudo ss flag tuln. We're going to run this. And okay, it looks like we are listening on ports 53, 22, and those are unconnected. So we have those in here, and now we can take a mental note if we want to do something with those, or if we want to leave them. For this instance, I'll leave them because I am currently using those. But if you weren't, you could go in and set a deny based on that, and we'll walk through that in just a second. However, the first thing that we're going to do, getting into the granular allow and deny, is to allow a SSH session. So the first thing we want to do is allow SSH so you can connect remotely. A lot of times in these instances, you need to be able to connect from another device, depending on what you're working on, whether it be a server or whether it be a device that you need to access from another room, doesn't matter. So in this case, we are going to enable SSH. The way we enable SSH is sudo UFW allow SSH. Perfect. And if you notice, it updated, and it also updated an IPv6 rule as well. So instead of a job half done, we have a job fully done, which we made sure that was the case. And now that we have SSH enabled, another good thing and cool trick you can do using UFW is you can also limit the amount of SSH attempts to help protect against brute force attacks. So it limits the attempts to 6 in a span of 30 seconds. And the way we'll do that is sudo UFW limit SSH. And the rules again are updated in both IPv4 and IPv6. Now, if we were had some sort of web services running on the computer or server in this case, we would run the ports for those, which are 80 and 443, and we would do sudo UFW allow port 80 and protocol TCP. And same goes for 443. So sudo UFW allow 443 and then the protocol. Now, if we want to do a custom port, or let's say you had some screen connect session or something that you had on some particular port, you could run the same thing with whatever port you have here and hit enter, and it's going to add it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to explicitly deny services that should not be accessible. For example, we're going to deny Telnet and FTP. They're both insecure and definitely should be blocked. So we're going to run sudo UFW deny, and then the same syntax, port and protocol. And for FTP, sudo UFW deny, port and protocol. Perfect. So now to review our current firewall rules with some numbering, we can run this command, which is just sudo UFW status numbered. and I don't have it enabled. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I just enabled the UFW and ran a reload. That way we can actually check this to verify what we've done so far. So if we run sudo UFW status numbered, it's going to show us all of the rules that we've created and each instance in both IPv4 and IPv6. Now, if I need to remove a rule, let's say in this case, we want to remove the allow of 8080. What we're going to do is we're going to type in sudo ufw delete 8080. Sorry, it is the rule number, I believe. So instead, we're going to do 4. And we're going to run the same thing on the IPv6 version. Delete. So if we check if it's still there, it is, and it is now rule 9. Sudo ufw delete rule 9. Yes. So as you can see, this is a bit different than denying, as a delete removes it from the list of entries that are already here. Enable disables ports, deletes removes the entries. Now, we can also enable logging. UFW can log blocked and allowed connections, which is useful for troubleshooting and also security monitoring. So the way we can do that is by running sudo UFW logging on. So now that we have logging enabled, these logs are saved in sudo nano var log UFW log. And they'll all come here. Obviously, we haven't done anything yet, so we got nothing. But that's where they're going to show up. Okay, so now that we have our other machine up and running and connected to the same network, we are going to test the rules that we previously just set with the SSH sessions and ports set to allow and the FTP set to deny. So if we run netcat with the VC flag, the IP address of our Ubuntu device that we've been working in, and then we specify the port number. In this case, we're going to try SSH. It succeeded. Awesome. So our allow rule is working. Now let's try our deny on port 23. And it refused. So there you have it. We have our granular port blocks and firewall implemented to block the ports and allow the ports that we have explicitly stated. So that completes our UFW firewall configuration demonstration. We verified installation, enabled IPv6 filtering, set secure default policies, allowed and denied specific services, enabled logging, applied the configuration, and tested the results from another machine. So this strengthens the system by reducing the attack surface and ensuring that the only approved services are accessible. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be sure to help you out.